computer. Okay, so, well, hi everybody for webinar number 2. um, since I've been doing these short little, I'm calling them quickies, it feels like we've had more webinars than just one so far. But yeah, I know in Hawaii now it's 6 a.m. In Portugal, it's really late. And that is where Mark Slee is. I also posted, he's a physicist, and he was on our first webinar. And I also posted another Facebook group who interviewed Mark, talking about the 3 principles in physics. And I think it's so interesting that, when you find something that's super simple, like, we used to talk about the 3 principles as if you boiled everything down, what's left is mind, thought, and consciousness. Because if you boil down the whole human experience, what's left is mind, thought, and consciousness. That's what creates a personal experience for every person. And, when we bump up against a negative personal experience, that's when it's so useful to remember that. Oh yeah, this is my thinking right now. Doesn't look like my thinking, it looks like reality, but it is my thinking. There's a part of us that remembers that. I think when we've been exposed to it long enough, when we have a group talking about it. I was kind of spoiled really in the early days, in the 80s, when I first got exposed to this, because there was a group of about 30 of us back then. And we would get together every year for conferences. And whenever Sid spoke, we'd be at his talks, which was all over the place, Hawaii, Florida, California. But we kind of, so we had this group that we could run things by and get touched by their insights. And, it's one of these things all those years ago that it's just occurring to me now to set up something like that now. And now that we don't have to travel to hear Sid, we just go into our log on and on the video and go into our headsets. It just makes it all the more easier, and we could meet online. We don't have to meet in, noisy hotels where the conferences were held. So in a way, this is better. Anyway, that's my thinking. Everybody has their own thinking. But I want to hear from you what you're experiencing, what insights are you having? I know that you're at different places of reading or listening to Sid. I just started his sequel to Second Chance. I'm halfway through the sequel, which is also a very short book. And it's called In Search of the Pearl, that pearl of wisdom that is spoken about in Second Chance. And I'm just delighted every time I read or listen to Sid's wisdom, what he saw back in the early 70s, that the world is now beginning to catch up to just now. Like everybody's looking for peace of mind and well-being, especially in these days of the unknown, virus and pandemic. And we're realizing as humans that we don't have the control here that we thought we did, like we've been at the wheel, and we can relax more because we see that when something that's so out of our control, like a worldwide pandemic, and somehow lots of lives are lost in the process, then, we could say, well, needlessly, if things were done differently. However, there's still a bunch of us surviving. We're surviving and rising above it. So that's really what Sid spoke about in, all the years that he spoke from 1973 on, from his epiphany on. So enough of me. And let me hear from you.
I have this, and I have seen maybe three of how many have you put out so far of your 5-minute deals?
Yeah, one a day. So this is our day 7. So there should be.
Okay, so I haven't gone through all of them. But the ones I've seen are really good, really good. So you're doing a beautiful job of making it simple. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so that's my question. I just, it just dawned on me, it came to me just then about happy and content is his definition of success. And I get that, but I didn't know if you'd done a little blurb on that because I can find myself, and did you do a blurb on that?
Yeah. I think so. Janet, did you hear that? I think it was like the last one because it was a quote of Sid's where,
Yeah. And maybe I'll listen to it and that's where it's coming from because I realize, I mean, I know the happiness is within us right now when we're, present and forget all this stuff that goes on upstairs,
yeah.
That contentment though, I find myself always wanting more. And that, so would you talk about that? Would you speak on that?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Contentment. Yeah,
Mhm.
it might be easier for a lot of people to see that success is not wealth and what's typically
Right.
of having the right car and the right job and rising to the top. But contentment, um, that's so true that the little mind, our brain activity, is very good at comparing and contrasting, which
Mhm.
works well at the grocery store. You
Mhm.
can
Right.
apples, so to speak, apples to apples, and which price is better, and you can contrast. Oh, these organic apples look better than the regular apples, blah blah blah. But in our own lives, it's so easy to go into our imagination of what we would love. And it's that I think at the last webinar, I talked about it as this gap between what is and what isn't. Our
Mm.
imagination wanting what we don't have right now, which makes us not very content. We're not going to be content if we're looking at what isn't. That's another thing that, I see this bigger and more. That one sentence that Sid said so many times, look at what is, not at what isn't. And he would say that during a 4-hour talk, and the next day during the next 4-hour talk. And so it's easy to have it like not front and center. But when you look at that one sentence, look at what is, not at what isn't, that is so profound. It sounds like something Yoda would say, right? On Star Wars, is that where Yoda was? It's just so wise. We have so much going for us. And yet we're looking at, gee, why can't I have this other thing?
Mhm.
Now, I'll tell you the truth, the honest truth. I used to do this a lot with my colleagues. Like, how come they are so far ahead? Why are they putting out so much? How come they have such a big audience? And something switched at some point. I mean, that's jealousy and envy, and that feels horrible. And it's looking at what's wrong with me thinking. But at some point, it was like obvious how ridiculous that looked to me. And I love the fact that they're putting it out. They're putting out the three principles. They're putting out their understanding at whatever they're drawn to, which came from their experience. And, you know, my thing was working with clients as a therapist. And, you know, I put out a dating course for single people on Udemy. And I think Joanne and I talked about this, that didn't go anywhere. You know, like in 2 years, I think 11 people. But it doesn't matter because there's always something else that you're going to be drawn to, that you're excited about doing. And, you know, I was going to go back to that course and see how I could get that out. But I don't need to do that because right now in this point in time, this is where my energy is in mystery school. So that's where I'm putting my focus. And it doesn't matter where I could be, should be. The other thing is, I was so psyched when somebody read the book I co-authored with Christine Heath, The Secret of Love, who happened to have a friend. It you know, really helped his relationship. And he had a friend who was bringing groups to the Dominican Republic for retreats. So he had that person contact me to see if I wanted to run a retreat. I said, yeah, count me in at a resort, an all-inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic. Of course. Well, we had 3 goes at it, and one thing after another happened. And the most recent, the third try for this, the pandemic hit. 3 days before, 3 days before we were ready to take off. So I could easily get into boo-hoo, woe is me. But isn't it better to look at what is? How grateful am I that I didn't wind up in the Dominican Republic without a ticket back? Or, you know, a couple that was coming from the UK had just been in Italy the Friday before we were leaving. How lucky am I that got canceled? Because I would have been exposed to people who had been in Italy at the start, and we all remember what that was like in Italy. I mean, I probably would have been exposed to COVID. Or anyway, it's just so much more, there's so much more contentment. And life is lived in the present. So if we're content with what is in the present, that's contentment. Not worrying about the future, where I'm headed, not concerned with the past, the mistakes that you think you made. You know, how many times have you thought you made a mistake and you look back and you realize, well, you know what? Had that mistake not been made, maybe I wouldn't have been here. It's like an artist who will say they make a mistake and then it adds something that they never would have seen if they didn't make that wrong brushstroke. And they're thinking it was wrong, but in the bigger picture, that to me is, you know, is what contentment is about, is appreciating what we have. Appreciating what we have right now. Who knows what the next is going to be? We don't know. It's like a river of life that will bring us to the next place. And did that help? Yeah.
So may I ask you this? So did you have an insight into that? Is that what you're saying? Or just a little aha, even if it was just a little aha kind of thing? Okay.
Well, you know, it must have been a big aha, because I was like really discontent. It's like going from discontent to content. But I don't know how or when that hit me. Was it the 85th time that I read from Sid, you know, look at what is, not at what isn't? I really don't know. I have no recollection of when that happen. I just kind of found myself in, oh, look at me. I'm sending the link to my colleagues, to my mailing list. I want my mailing list to know about what they're doing. Why would I ever withhold that? You know, and you look back and you think, well, that was kind of weird. Like, I don't own the three principles. Sid Banks found it, and the point is getting it out into the world so that there's more peace and more discontent, more content, less discontent and more contentment. Right? So I don't know. That's a really good question, but it has to be an insight that somehow you see something inside you that makes something you used to think look pretty ridiculous, pretty silly. And here's the kicker: forgiveness is forgiving yourself when you see something better than you saw in the past. Wow, thank heavens I saw something better. I'm so grateful to have seen something better. And I couldn't help seeing it the way I did back when I saw it, because that was what the three principles delivered. That was my, you know, it was my self-limiting thinking that was getting in the way. Sid talks about the scratches.
Yeah.
Right? The scratches on your lenses. It's like that wacky thinking every human does that gets in their way and they don't know it's getting in their way. They have no choice but to have thought that, given the level of thinking they were at, given the level of consciousness they were at the time. And that's where psychological innocence comes in. I love that phrase, or, you know, those two words, psychological innocence. We are innocent to the current thinking we're doing. I know I've got blind spots right now, stuff that I don't know I'm not seeing. I can't blame myself for what I don't know that I'm not seeing.
Yeah.
It's like blaming yourself for not being able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Impossible task.
Yeah.
But when it gets revealed, he's like, oh, thank you. That is wonderful. That came out of my blind spot. And we help each other to bring things out of our blind spot.
I think that's it. Because I was feeling happy and content, or thinking I was content. And then, you know, I just went, wait a minute. I'm always wanting my house to be better. I'm always wanting that boyfriend. I'm always wanting more clients. And I thought, whoa. And I think it was a blind spot.
Yeah, that wanting.
So that's the first step, you know, is seeing it for what it is.
Yeah.
And I may, you know,
and you know,
a whole moment may hit me. Exactly.
And you know, there's nothing wrong with desire.
Exactly.
Desire, you know, as long as you have it in the perspective of, I so appreciate what I have. And what I have is going to fuel whatever comes next.
Exactly. And that's, yes, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it looks like you just had an insight. And believe me, I still have
at least
I want this, I want that, I want a boyfriend. Yeah. And then, you know, there's also gratitude that I don't have a boyfriend that's not a good boyfriend.
Yes, you're right.
You know, that saying, I'd rather be single and happy. But the point is, and I should know after writing a book on relationships, that no matter who we're with, the happiness is up to us. What we're telling ourselves. If we're in judgment of the person we're with, we're not going to be content. But if we see a psychologically innocent human, then we can fall back into a feeling of love. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you think, Janet? What do you think?
Well, no, I just listening, it social media strikes me that, of course, nobody posts their bad days on Instagram or Facebook. You see everybody's amazing lives, and I think that can be, sometimes people can look at that and say like, wow, look at what they're doing. Look at what look at their beautiful, fall setting they have in their house. And I've barely taken away the summer flowers, and that's easy to do with social media, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's dangerous when people get into comparing themselves to, these people who are at these great restaurants and they're eating the great food and they have the perfect vacations with their family. I know exactly what you mean. I'm going to tell you a true story. I have a new client and she's lovely, lovely. I only met with her once and her parents. She's 15. She's blonde. She's beautiful. She's petite. She's athletic. She thinks she's ugly. And where did that come from? She said in front of her parents, she said to me, Instagram and Facebook.
Mhm.
People, and in that, she's a teenager, concerned about her forehead being too large. I didn't see a large forehead. And anyway, don't they say large foreheads mean that you have a big brain and you're smart? But I didn't see a large forehead. I saw a beautiful teenager, blonde, petite, athletic, smart, expressive. I mean, she articulated like she was a 30-year-old, 15.
So
And
how do you convince her otherwise?
you can't convince anybody. I talk about thought.
Mhm.
I explain how thought works, that it is not truth. It is an illusion, right? We look in the mirror. Having you look, I actually wrote a blog about this. Sometimes I'll look in the mirror and I see a lot more wrinkles than other
Mhm.
times. Other times I could care less, just age gracefully, who cares? But other times I'm like looking at wrinkles like I used to look at pimples when I was a teenager. It's crazy. And when you realize what you're doing, it's like you wake up to the moment and you say, what am I doing? Boom. That's the opening to clear your mind. The moment you realize you just got caught up in personal thinking and there's a whole world out there. Like, you think other people care about your forehead, your wrinkles, your pimples? Not unless you're in second grade and your name is Lori Carpenos and you freak out over freckles. This is a true story. Second grade. I had a meltdown because I sat next to it. I was seated next to a boy with freckles like the size of quarters. I had never seen that in my life. I don't know what I thought. Did I think it was a disease and the freckles were going to jump off him and onto me? I don't know what I thought. I could just tell you I was a basket case. I cried and pleaded with my mother. I was too shy to talk to the teacher. She spoke to the teacher and the teacher wouldn't have it. She said, nope, she's going to stay right there and she's going to learn they're just freckles. I don't remember the rest of the year. I must have gotten through second grade because I know I went on to third at some point. But, that just is a funny story and true. how we can work ourselves up into a lather over something that is so nothing, making mountains out of molehills that don't even exist. But we'll connect these dots in our brain, and the dots don't even exist. And we're making comparisons and all sorts of nonsense. It doesn't make sense when you step away from your thinking and you have a broader look at it.
So true.
Right? So to that, I'm not sure I answered your question, Janet. What do I say to her? You can't undo thinking with more thinking. I think I'm not sure of the exact quote, but I'm pretty sure it's from Second Chance, where Sid talks about that. You have to just see it as thought. Thought is deceptive. It gets us believing in stuff that isn't true. We get hoodwinked by our own thinking, and you'll see it with other people. It's easier to see in other people who buy into this nonsense, like this 15-year-old who's beautiful, who thinks she's ugly, and she really thinks that. Like, if she gets a compliment, she says, "Oh, you don't really mean that. I don't believe that." What she hasn't seen yet is that that's ego too. It's ego whether you think you're too great or you think you're not good enough. It's still self-absorption. Did that make sense? I don't know. You could fill in more, Joanne. Joanne's a student of principles.
But the self-absorption is so true, because we get absorbed into our own thinking about ourselves or about someone else. And that's all ego. It's all ego.
Yeah.
And there's no truth to it. It's just our perception.
Yeah. Right.
And it feels true. We know that.
Yeah.
But it is our perception.
In that moment, right?
In that
And our
moment.
perception changes at another moment.
Yes. Yes.
So do you have like another specific question around that or something else, Jana?
No, not really. Again, I think I really just need to start doing my homework and reading to be able to have more questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no. That's what lip reading comes in handy for me.
I don't know what, normally the speaker works pretty well.
Yeah, well, Joanne's hearing you. It just comes out, I think because I'm using this in order to hear, maybe I should turn this off because it's probably making it too loud. Yeah. So try that again. Let's see how that works. If
No,
not,
so I think I need to do my homework and do more reading and before I have more questions.
yeah. I heard that. Yeah. This gizmo that's supposed to improve hearing was getting in the way. It was too much. So I heard that. Yeah, do your homework. But, I don't want you to look at it as homework. I want you to, I can't wait. I've been reading before I go to sleep. I don't know if I make half an hour. I think I fall asleep before half an hour. But I get a pass, right? Because I've read it before. But I look forward to it. That's what I'd love to hear that you're looking forward to.
Oh, I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I know. Sometimes right before bedtime, because it's a great sedative.
Mm-hmm.
You know why it's a good sedative? Because you can't really wrap your mind around it. Even Richard, he's the one who goes to Hawaii and learns from Jonathan. even Richard says in that book, gosh, I can't understand what you're saying, Jonathan. And that's what puts us to sleep, because the brain can't get engaged to try to figure it out. This is not brain stuff. This is not memorizing or remembering or any of that brains or figuring it out. You don't want to try to figure it out. You just want to just listen. Just listen with like a deeper place of listening beyond the intellect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe you could describe it, what your experience is, Joanne.
Well, no, it is beyond, you did it well, beyond the intellect, because the intellect wants to argue with it, figure it out, right, wrong, good, bad, whatever. And, you know, like Sid would say, listen for that good feeling and just,
Yeah.
and do it slowly too, I think. You can't just, don't just read the whole thing, right? Wouldn't you do
Yeah.
it kind of, yeah.
Little by little,
It,
little by little. Exactly. That's a great point.
yeah, it's sometimes it takes a little reflection. Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess.
Like the next day, let's say you read it before you go to sleep, and the next day something might hit you. Oh,
Yeah.
if that's what he was talking about.
Yes.
You come back that night and you read that, part again, and
Yeah.
see, your wisdom will direct you with that. But that's a great point, because the first time I read Second Chance in 1985, I zipped through the whole thing and I thought, well, that's an interesting book. La, la, la. And it was before I ever heard Sid speak, and I tucked it away. And I think I mentioned this when I was in an online course that Dr. Pettit provided a few months back. He said, he made Second Chance. He said he can't require it, obviously, but he strongly recommended it. That's when I read it for the second time, all these years later. And I heard him say lots of times that he won't even see a client until they've read Second Chance 2 or 3 times. Or The Missing Link, or I think maybe he says pick any of his books and read it 2 or 3 times. I'm not really sure of, what his protocol is, but so I finally heard what he was saying. I probably heard him say it and it was like, yeah, my free time, right? But for this course, I got on the bandwagon, and what he said was so true. It's like reading a different book, because you've had insights along the way, and so you see so much more into it. It was so much more than just an interesting story.
Is that his most well-known book, or is
That I did not hear.
is that his most well-known book?
I kind of think The Missing Link might be the most well-known. This is Sid's first book. The Missing Link it's not a story. All of his other books are stories. So I think they're a little easier. I don't know that I would recommend The Missing Link first right off.
Yeah.
What do you think, Joanne? What do you think?
No, I think, yeah, that's later as you kind of, see the truth in this.
Yeah.
I think The Enlightened Gardener is another, which you can only get on Kindle now, is another book that probably pretty famous for him.
Yeah. I love The Enlightened Gardener. And The Enlightened Gardener Revisited.
Yeah.
There is, it's all right there. It's all in that one book, but I think reading Second Chance will help you to lead up to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a fun read, The Enlightened Gardener. A bunch of psychologists are at a psychology conference and they're talking to the gardener, learning from the gardener, which really is, what happened to a bunch of us, learning from a man with a, I don't know, Sid had a 9th grade education, I think.
Yeah.
Learning wisdom beyond what we learned in graduate school.
Yeah.
Because it's a spiritual understanding. I mean, psycho-spiritual, Sid would say. It really is. I mean, that's what our psyche is. Our
Right.
psyche is the way the spiritual is manifested in the world. Is the way it looks to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
And
just relieves so much suffering. Oh my God. So much suffering. The things that take place, like family stuff that I would have suffered over in the past, I see it for what it is. It's their level of thinking. It's just the way they see things. I don't have to be offended that they're not checking in with the old lady who lives alone. They're busy with their family. But, I have friends my age who live alone and they get the feathers get so ruffled that nobody's checking in with them, how they're doing during the pandemic. Well, maybe they just think you're so right on and so on top of things that they don't need to check in with you. Well, I don't know. But you see how our thinking colors everything. An event happens, but it's the way we perceive it, the way we think about it, that gives us the experience of that thing, that event, that circumstance. There seems to be two types of people, and I think it's, I don't know why, but during the pandemic, I hear from people like myself who have found a lot of goodness in it. We almost feel guilty that we are thriving when people are dying, but feeling guilt is not going to keep them alive either. So that's nonsense. But there's also people, and you can understand a loss of jobs, a loss of income. They're freaking out. And there are some people who lose jobs and lose income, and they somehow clear their mind enough for some really great thing to occur to them. I don't know that wisdom school would have occurred to me had the pandemic not happened and I got so comfortable online and I had the time to take Bill's course where he's recommending read Second Chance again. I mean, it's like a domino effect. Who knows how things progress the way they do, how things occur to us the way they do, seemingly out of the blue. But a lot of people are being so creative. It just really amazes me. I saw a symphony instead of playing to empty chairs. I think it was in Paris, maybe, I'm not sure. In this big, huge hall, the instruments were 6 feet apart. They filled the seats with plants. They played the place was green. Who thinks of these things?
And the plants probably just thrived, loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. Following your bliss, following what you love, follow a beautiful feeling.
Yes.
Yeah. So what else should we talk about? How have you been doing, Janet? Other than, I mean, we don't have to only talk about Sid's work and
Good, good. Busy, but good. Working, working, working. So that's why I'm taking 2 days off and will
right.
relax and enjoy.
You are working. You're one of the workers. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad we could move this up during your lunch hour. I haven't
Yes.
heard any naysayers, so we'll keep it at this time. It works for you too, Joanne. Yeah, it's 12 noon for you too. The three of us, we're all East Coast time. Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Janet's unmuted and I'm hearing.
Yeah, my computer, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It was a ding ding. So anything you want more of, less of in the Facebook group, anything there that I could tweak?
No, I think you're doing a good job. It's me keeping up with it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so
I
much
agree.
than it's really easier. I kind of got in the flow of it.
Mhm.
And putting it on YouTube makes it easier too, because immediately, this is new on YouTube, it comes up with all the links, Twitter, email, whatever the other links are. I've only used the link to Facebook. And then when it goes to Facebook, I could very easily click on, the arrow that goes down rather than sending it to everybody on my Facebook page. I could go scroll down on the arrow to groups. And then I write in mystery school and it's there. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm not a subscriber of YouTube. Do I need to subscribe?
I don't know. That's a good question. I do not know. Yeah.
I'll hit that button and see what it.
But you've been able to see it when you click on
Yeah,
it.
but I can't comment because I'm not subscribed.
But you've seen my 5-minute, 10-minute quickies.
I know. Yeah,
So,
but I can't comment.
oh, you can't comment.
Uh-huh. Right. But I'm sure I could comment on Facebook, but I can't do it on YouTube because I'm not a subscriber.
Oh, I don't know what the difference is between
Yeah. Well,
subscribe.
I might just punch that button and see what it tells me.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, I, like any of the other three principles, things that go out,
Mhm.
you can watch it right there on the Facebook group, or you can watch it in YouTube. And I always go over to YouTube because it gets captioned for me automatically.
Mhm.
So I automatically go to YouTube. Plus, I get the bigger screen and
Yeah.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you can only comment on Facebook if you're not a subscriber. I didn't know that. Boy, there's so much to learn about technology. What do you do for work, Janet? Speaking of technology.
I'm a nurse manager.
You have been busy.
Yeah, I didn't get that. You're what?
Nurse manager.
Oh, you're a nurse manager. Are you in a unit or have you been in a unit with COVID?
We've had patients that were suspected of, and we've had a few that haven't, but I'm an outpatient.
Mhm.
Wow. So you're really busy, huh?
Very, yes.
Mhm.
Wow. Well, I feel really honored that you're taking this course. Thank you so much. It's great to have you.
Well, it's great to be here. You're doing a great job. With everything with the pandemic and so much craziness, and my clinic is children with cancer. So I just thought I would love to just look into something different, look at the world in a different way.
Right, right.
Awesome.
And you can see how their thinking will get in their way, but it looks real to them. So you
Mhm.
have more empathy than other nurse managers who don't know about this. The fact that, I think it's easy to take things personally when the nurses you're managing are just, up to here with their own stressful thinking. I'm guessing,
Lots of stress.
Yeah.
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 There's actually, I can't remember her name now, but I'll send it to you. I think they only meet once a month. I'm not sure, but there's a group for nurses on 3PGC, right? The nursing group, 3PGC. So I'll send that to you because whenever it comes across my desk, I send it to nurses that I know.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Dr. Pettit was a presenter the last time I saw. I'll find that in my email and forward it to you because you could at least listen to the recording, most likely. Yeah.
Great.
Wonderful. Yeah. So how many hours do you work? Because a lot of nurses, they're working like 3 days, but like 12 hours a day or something.
I'm here 5 days a week
You are, yeah.
from typically around 10 hours a day.
10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Wow, that's 50 hours a week.
Yeah, some days are a little shorter. It depends.
Well, you gotta love what you're doing, right? I mean, I know, I think I put in at least 50 hours a week. If I, count it all up, but I'm not counting. It's just life, it's just part of our lives, what we do, right? And if you love what you do, you don't think of it as work life. People talk about work-life balance as though it's a clock thing, time thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a state of mind thing. I think that's how I see it. I mean, believe me, I take my walks in the woods. Oh yeah, when I'm done at the end of my day, I'm like, boom, out the door, got to take a walk. Because I'm so lucky. I have 2 beautiful parks to walk in. And I think, that's just another thing I discovered during COVID. I did not know that they renovated a park I could walk to. It's all renovated. It's all brand new. I didn't know. I discovered that during COVID. Yeah.
There's been a lot of silver linings.
A lot of silver linings. Yeah. Yeah. What other silver linings are you finding?
Well, the drive to work is pretty great with a lot of people working from home and the buses not on the, well, the buses are back a little bit, but the drive to work is beautiful.
Yeah. And decrease in pollution.
Mm-hmm.
And people are finding that they can easily work from home because they just meet on the screen like this. It's so much easier than people realized. Yeah. What are you finding, Joanne? Are you finding some?
Well, it's just the slowing down,
Yeah.
and it's that, oh, I'm not missing out on, that kind of thing. Oh, whatever, yeah, what's going on? Am I missing out? Or, feel obligated to go somewhere or whatever. All of that chatter is kind of calmed down. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's been nice. Once again, I hadn't noticed how much of that chatter was in my head.
Right. Yeah.
And I really think I did have an insight because I had not noticed the discontentment chatter in my head. I would have told you I was content.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
And I know it's not gonna, there are times where, we go in and out of it, but I would have told you I was mostly content, and I see it differently now. I'm in my head a lot about, wishing this was different.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Because you can't let go of something you don't know you're doing.
Mhm. Exactly. I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And now when you know, and it's going to make an impact on me too, because when I slip into discontented thinking, I'll probably chuckle thinking about having this discussion with the two of you.
Mhm.
So, you know, wow, there I go.
Mhm.
Uh, my human is showing.
Yeah. Well, and the beauty of it is it just popped in my head, happy and content. And then I didn't know where I was going with it. And it just, and then I saw what I was doing, you know, when you were talking and all, I saw. Yeah. But that happy and content, just, that was wisdom popping up
Yeah,
to allow me to see it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, the way we're built is so incredible.
Mhm.
You know, like I'm in awe looking at the different, you know, if you go to an aquarium and you see these different fish species, I mean, how did all that get designed? Right? All the different colors and shapes and oh my gosh. Or when on my walks, the different dogs, the design. And when you look at our design, that we are designed to have a little mind and also tap into big mind. That was another thing that Sid said that really is making so much more sense to me now. If we can harmonize our little mind with big mind,
Mhm.
whoa. And what that means, in the way I understand it, is slowing down, like you
Mhm.
said, Janine, slowing down that little mind, that chatter, so that we hear wisdom.
Mhm. Settling our mind, just settle down, settle down. Yeah. Not a doing, just allowing. Yeah.
Yeah, allowing it. Yeah, yeah. If we're not all crunching away and tense in our head, there is this allowance that
Mhm.
takes place. And it, for me, it has to do with trust also. That I trust if I let it go, whatever is concerning me, that that concern will either work its way out, work itself out, or I'll come back to it when my head is clear. Like there, it's trusting in wisdom. And the
Mhm.
more you see it working for you, the easier it is to trust it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll have a client and they're so caught up in their story and, you know, and I listen and I listen and I listen. And then I just keep my mind, I keep settling down, settling down. So there's no judgment. I'm just open to them. And they end up settling down. And what they see then is totally different. It's not nearly the problem that it was when they were all caught up.
Yeah, yeah,
A whole different view.
yeah. And they see how they solve their own problem. Their problem
Yeah,
gets solved.
exactly. Or it's not even a problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
You must be a therapist, Joanne.
I'm a coach.
Mm.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And you've done a lot of um, trainings in the three principles and done a lot of self-study and yeah.
Yeah.
Since when? How did you first
And
run it?
2013, I heard Michael Neal, and I was searching because I knew I couldn't figure out how our feelings get, you know, what was coming first, thought, feeling, whatever. I couldn't figure it out. And I was searching because I knew I was a life coach and I was not happy. And you know, I didn't know it was already there for me. I was always searching out Yeah. And I couldn't understand what Michael was saying, so he referenced Sid Banks, so I went to Sid's thing. Yeah. And listened to him. And I heard about thought. I heard thought right away, and I knew it was true. That thought feeling, it's all made up. Yeah. According to our state of mind, according to our, yeah.
Yeah. A
Mhm.
lot of people actually, Janet, have come into the three principles. We call it a community. There's like 8,000 people on a Facebook group called the three principles of mind, thought, and consciousness. 8,000 people around the world.
Wow.
And a lot of people came in through this life coach, Michael Neal, who wrote a book called The Inside Out.
Understanding. No, Inside Out
Revolution.
Revolution. Yeah.
Inside Out Revolution. Yeah. And he wrote another book too. I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, so a lot of people came in through Michael. And yeah. And so I love the fact that, you know, we're going back to the root of it all. I mean, Michael learned from a bunch of people who learned from Sid. And, you know, so now we're like on the third generation of students of Sid Banks. You know, that he would say, he himself, Sid Banks would say, he had no idea why this happened to me. I have no idea why this would happen to me, such an ordinary person, such an extraordinary experience, that the ripples throughout the world. I don't know if Janet, if you know this, but there's an annual conference that was started by a rabbi in the UK. Oh, you're going to love this. In the UK, 1,000 people. They get 1,000 people and more people who have to live stream because this sporting center can only hold 1,000 people. Which is so great that, you know, there's that it's spreading peace of mind and contentment. And people are, it's not like, you know, you get content and you feel satisfied and then you just hang loose. You don't do anything. There's more productivity. People find greater productivity. They're starting new businesses. They're doing all sorts of, they're writing books. A lot of people are writing books about this now.
In fact, I think that's what's been holding me back. Honestly, I could cry right now. I mean, yeah.
What do you mean?
Well, just, you know, comparing myself to all, you know, like the Amy Johnson and Michael Neal, and, you know, they're out there prolific in what they, you know, and I don't even want to be that prolific. But, you know, and so I do nothing as far as, you know, online stuff, except with individual clients, kind of like you were saying. Yeah.
Well, you have a brand new grandchild and you have like 3 other how many in total?
4
total grandchildren. So, you know, you get a pass. But it's so true that
but I think that's true. I think, yeah, that contentment piece is part of it. Yeah.
That's part of it for sure. But the other part is why, you know, it's wonderful when you realize you've been holding yourself back. And then you like open up to whatever is coming through. I mean, it sounds so magical. And it feels magical, but there is something to it. I honestly feel like the book I co-authored with Christine Heath, that was downloaded. Yes, it took me 10 years, but it felt like, man, I was some vessel for this. And the mystery school totally downloaded because everything was just, it just came.
Yeah.
I did a little searching, like in my brain. I thought, oh, I'd really like to do a course, an online course, really like to do that. And I was like struggling to get the right word for it. Wanted it to have something to do with confidence, because when you allow yourself to open up to a bigger picture, you feel more confident in everything because you realize we're just a vessel for something so much bigger that we can't, it's intangible. We can't put a finger on, we can't hold it, but we can point to it. We know, wherever you point to, that's, this big mind, wisdom. And then the Native Americans call God big mind.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Oops, I gotta go.
Yeah, it's
I do too.
past the hour. We could just keep going.
I
Thank
know.
you both so much. Thanks so much. Janet used her lunch hour.
I
And
know.
see you on the Facebook group. And next Wednesday.
Okay, great. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Have a good weekend.
Thank you. Okay. Bye. Bye, everybody.